You know what's absolutely wild? There are college towns across America where you can rent a decent two-bedroom apartment for $500 a month, sometimes less. Not in the hood, not in rural nowhere. In actual towns with universities, walkable downtowns, and college infrastructure. The catch? The students left, enrollment crashed, and now these towns have thousands of empty bedrooms built for students who aren't coming back. I'm talking about towns where student housing sits 30, 40, even 50% vacant. Where landlords who were charging $900 a month are now begging for $600. Where luxury student apartments are offering 2 months free rent just to fill units. This is the enrollment crisis meets the rental market. And if you're remote work enabled or just broke and willing to live in a college town without college kids, there are deals that would make your coastal friends weep. So today we're going through 12 college towns where rent has crashed so hard. After enrollment declined that living there is cheaper than almost anywhere else in America. Let's get into it. Here's why this is happening and why it's creating these insane rental opportunities. College enrollment nationwide has been declining since around 2010. The birth rate dropped after the 2008 financial crisis. Fewer kids means fewer college students a generation later. Add in rising tuition costs, student debt concerns, and changing attitudes about college, and you get enrollment crisis. Small to mid-sized public universities have been hit the hardest. The big state flagships are mostly fine, but regional state universities, the ones in smaller towns, they're seeing enrollment drops of 10, 20, even 30% over the last decade. These universities were the economic engines of their towns. Students rented apartments, ate at restaurants, shopped locally, kept the whole ecosystem alive. When enrollment drops 20%, that's thousands of students and millions of dollars leaving the local economy. And here's where it gets interesting for renters. These towns built massive amounts of student housing over the last 20 years. Luxury apartment complexes, purpose-built student towers, all financed assuming enrollment would keep growing. Enrollment didn't keep growing. It shrank. Now these towns have way too much housing and not enough students. Landlords are competing for a shrinking renter pool. Prices are crashing. Concessions are everywhere. For students still there, it's great. For remote workers or retirees looking for cheap living in a walkable town with amenities, it's an opportunity. For landlords and local businesses, it's a disaster. The towns on this list have seen the most dramatic enrollment declines and the most aggressive rent corrections. Some have lost 20 to 30% of their student population. Rent has followed. Number 12, Kent, Ohio, starting with the Ohio town where Kent State enrollment dropped and rent followed. Kent State has seen enrollment decline from a peak of around 40,000, down to closer to 35,000 or less in recent years. That's thousands of missing students. Rent for a two-bedroom has dropped around $600 to $800 a month in many buildings. Student housing vacancy is significant. Kent is a classic college town. Cute downtown. Walkable. Near Cleveland if you need a city. And now it's cheap because students left. The downside is it's still Ohio. Cold winters. Not a ton to do if you're not into the college scene. And the town's economy is struggling without those missing students. Businesses have closed. It feels emptier. Kent is where May 4th happened and now students are leaving peacefully but permanently. Number 11. DeKalb, Illinois, the town west of Chicago where Northern Illinois University enrollment crashed. NIU enrollment has dropped from around 25,000 at peak to under 17,000 now. That's a 30% decline, brutal. Rent has followed down. Two bedrooms are going for $500 to $700 in many places. Student housing is desperate for tenants. DeKalb is an hour west of Chicago, so you've got city access if you need it. The town itself is small and very college dependent. When the college shrinks, everything shrinks. The problem is DeKalb in winter is cold and depressing, and without students. There's not much happening. It's cheap, but you're paying the price in isolation and Illinois winters. DeKalb is where Chicago proximity can't save you from enrollment decline. Number 10, Indiana. Pennsylvania, the town that's literally named Indiana in Pennsylvania, where IUP enrollment fell off a cliff. Indiana University of Pennsylvania had over 15,000 students at peak. Now it's under 8,000. That's a 50% decline. Absolutely catastrophic. Rent has crashed. 2 bedrooms for $500 to $600 a month are common. Student housing sits half empty. Indiana, PA is a small town that was built entirely around the university. When half the students disappear, half the town's economy disappears. Businesses closed. Properties sit vacant. It's genuinely sad. The upside is, if you want ultra-cheap living in a walkable small town, it's available. The downside is you're in rural Pennsylvania with a dying town economy and very limited job opportunities. Indiana, PA is where the name promised more than the reality delivered. Number 9. Terre Haute, Indiana, the Indiana town where Indiana State enrollment declined and nobody noticed because it's Terre Haute. Indiana State enrollment has dropped from around 13,000 to under 9,000. Terre Haute as a whole has been declining for decades. Add enrollment loss to existing decline, and you get very cheap rent. 2 bedrooms for $500 to $700 are easy to find. Terre Haute has always been rough. High crime for a small city. Economic struggles. Now with fewer students, it's rougher. But if you're extremely broke or remote working and need rock-bottom rent, it exists here. The reality is Terre Haute is cheap because most people don't want to live there. The enrollment decline just made it cheaper. You're trading safety and amenities for affordability. Terre Haute is where cheap rent meets legitimate concerns about living there. Number 8. Muncie. Indiana again because the state's regional universities are struggling. Ball State enrollment has declined from around 22,000 to under 18,000. Muncie's economy was already weak. Losing students made it worse. Rent is cheap, $500 to $700 for 2 bedrooms in many areas. Student housing has high vacancy. Muncie is the town from Middletown, the sociological study of average American towns. It's not average anymore. It's declining. But it has that college town infrastructure, walkable areas, some decent food because of students who remain. The problem is Muncie is depressing. Economic decline, population loss. Without the student energy, it feels hollow. Cheap though, Muncie is where Ball State can't save a town that's been struggling for decades. Number 7. Bowling Green, Ohio, the Ohio town where Bowling Green State enrollment dropped and rent crashed. BGSU enrollment peaked around 21,000 and has dropped to 17,000 or less. That's thousands of missing students. Rent has corrected hard. 2 bedrooms for $600 to $800 are standard. Student housing complexes are offering crazy concessions. Bowling Green is small town Ohio. It's flat. It's agricultural. It's got college town amenities because of the university, but not much else. When students leave, it's just a small Ohio town. The upside is it's genuinely cheap and walkable. The downside is Ohio winter in a small town with declining energy. Not for everyone. Bowling Green is where cheap Ohio rent meets the question of whether you can handle Ohio. Number 6. Burlington, Vermont. Wait, Vermont, yes? Even expensive Vermont has enrollment issues. University of Vermont enrollment has been relatively stable, but the town's economy has softened. The bigger issue is Champlain College and other smaller schools seeing declines. Student housing overbuilt. Rent in Burlington has corrected somewhat. You can find places for $900 to $1,200, which is cheap for Vermont. Burlington is beautiful. Lake Champlain, mountains, actual culture. It's one of the better college towns in America, but it's also very expensive historically. The enrollment softness has made it more accessible. The downside is Vermont winter is real. And even with corrections, Burlington isn't truly cheap compared to the Midwest towns on this list. But for Vermont, it's a deal. Burlington is where enrollment decline made Vermont almost affordable. Number 5. Athens, Ohio, the Appalachian college town where Ohio University enrollment dropped hard. Enrollment peaked around 30,000 plus and has declined to around 24,000. That's a significant drop. Athens has responded with rent corrections. 2 bedrooms for $600 to $800 are common. Student housing vacancy is notable. Athens is actually charming. It's in the hills of southeastern Ohio. The town has character. OU maintains decent college town vibes even with fewer students. And it's cheap. The problem is Athens is isolated. You're in rural Appalachia. Job opportunities are limited to the university or service jobs. But for remote workers, it's got the charm and low cost. Athens is where Appalachian beauty meets Midwestern affordability. Number 4. Morgantown, West Virginia, the West Virginia town where WVU enrollment issues created rental opportunities. West Virginia University enrollment has declined from around 30,000 to mid-20s. Morgantown built tons of student housing. Now it's oversupplied. Rent has dropped. $700 to $900 for 2 bedrooms is typical. Some places cheaper. Morgantown is surprisingly nice. It's in the mountains. The downtown is walkable. WVU provides college infrastructure, and West Virginia is cheap generally. The downside is you're in West Virginia. Limited job market outside the university, isolated. Appalachian poverty visible. But if you can work remote and want cheap mountain living, it works. Morgantown is where West Virginia mountains meet college town affordability. Number 3. Carbondale, Illinois, the southern Illinois town where CU enrollment collapsed catastrophically. Southern Illinois University enrollment peaked over 25,000. Now it's around 12,000. That's a 50% decline. Absolutely devastating for Carbondale. Rent has crashed. 2 bedrooms for $400 to $600 are common. Student housing sits largely empty. Carbondale was entirely built around CU. When enrollment halved, the town economy halved. Businesses closed. The vibe died. It's genuinely rough now. But if you want absolutely rock-bottom rent in a place with college town bones, Carbondale delivers. You can live insanely cheap. You're just living in a dying college town in rural southern Illinois. Carbondale is where enrollment collapse created poverty-level rents. Number 2. Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, the small Pennsylvania town where Bloomsburg University enrollment dropped to crisis levels. Bloomsburg University enrollment crashed from around 10,000 to under 7,000. For a small town, that's existential. Rent is dirt cheap, $500 to $700 for 2 bedrooms easily. Student housing is desperate. Bloomsburg is tiny, rural Pennsylvania. The university was everything. Without students, there's not much left. It's quiet. It's cheap. It's kind of sad. For someone wanting extreme affordability in rural peace, it exists. For most people, the isolation and economic decline would be too much. Bloomsburg is where Pennsylvania college town met Pennsylvania decline. Number 1. Edinboro, Pennsylvania at number 1. The cheapest college town with the most dramatic enrollment collapse, Edinboro. Edinboro University enrollment absolutely cratered, from around 8,000 down to under 3,000. The town is tiny and was completely dependent on the university. Rent is shockingly cheap, $400 to $600 for 2 bedrooms. You can find cheaper. Edinboro is rural Pennsylvania near Erie. It's small. It's cold. Without students, it's basically a ghost town with college buildings. But it's walkable and has that college infrastructure. The reality is Edinboro is dying. The university might not survive. The town will struggle to survive without it. But right now, you can live there for almost nothing. Edinboro is where enrollment death spiral created the cheapest college town rent in America. So what does all this mean? First, the enrollment crisis is real, and it's creating these rental market collapses in college towns. This isn't temporary. Demographics mean fewer college-age kids for years to come. Second, for remote workers, retirees, or anyone who can earn income independent of location, these towns offer insane value, cheap rent, walkable downtowns, college amenities like libraries and cultural events, college town food scenes. Third, the trade-offs are real. These towns are cheap because students left, which means the economy is declining. Businesses are closing. The energy and vibrancy that made them college towns is diminishing. Fourth, winters are brutal in most of these places. Midwest and Pennsylvania winters are no joke. If you hate cold, this isn't for you. And fifth, job opportunities are limited. If you need local employment, these aren't great options. But if you're remote or retired, that doesn't matter. So there you have it. 12 college towns where enrollment crashed and took rent with it. This is a weird moment in American geography. College towns built for student populations that aren't coming back. Thousands of empty bedrooms. Desperate landlords. Rock-bottom rents. For some people, this is opportunity. Live in a walkable town with amenities for $500 or $600 a month. Save money. Enjoy small town life. Take advantage of college resources. For others, the trade-offs aren't worth it. Economic decline, isolation, brutal winters. Limited social scenes without students. The towns themselves are in crisis. Their economic models depended on students. Without them, they're struggling to survive. Some will adapt. Others will keep declining. For renters, these deals won't last forever. Either enrollment stabilizes or landlords exit the market and supply contracts. Right now, it's a renter's market in these towns like nowhere else in America. So here's my question for you. Would you move to a dying college town for $400 or $500 rent? Or are the trade-offs too significant? What's your minimum rent where you'd accept isolation and economic decline? Let me know in the comments. Because this enrollment crisis is reshaping college towns and creating opportunities for people willing to live in them. And if you found this depressing but useful, maybe subscribe. We cover housing markets, economic decline, and strange opportunities in dying places. Someone has to document the enrollment crisis rental market. Might as well be me.